This is that spoiler review. This book starts off with a flashback to Sylvia and Carly back in their high school years. She spots Carly in the hallway and is just like, hey, here's this book. I hope, it helps you with your future endeavors or whatever. What ends up happening is we cut to graduation day. You spot Carly, chatting it up with Siggy. And, they're hamming it up and whatnot. And you see this guy here, Lansky, his name is. Lansky reaches out to Carly and is just like, hey, where'd that sash come from? She says, oh, well, I made it, so on and so forth. So, he kind of slides her his card and is just like, yeah, I got a special spot for you, in my agency. Go ahead and get some money, some revenue flowing through his company, essentially. Sylvia spots what's going on. She's just like, oh, well, congratulations. I'm glad, you got your start happening so early for you, essentially. Like right out of graduation, right into the workforce. Good for you kind of thing. She kind of does throw a side jab there. She says, and to think all it took was to get you started was that book I gave you. Then we cut back to present day where we see Kimiko, Misha, and Carly out at a fair where they're just kind of having their conversation and whatnot. And they showing up to their booth where they transform. They end up transforming and they throw out some brand who wants free ramen. So the ramen's passed out and monsters pop up. Insectoid infantry stab beetles. So what ends up happening is they have to tussle with Vermilion Masquerade, who is one of their villains, because there's more than likely going to be more. I'm hoping there's more. Let there be more. Nonetheless, they end up getting into the altercation. Now, what is kind of cool is that little panel there, the water splash Vermilion Masquerade in the back of the head. And you see her hair just kind of splash out and stuff like that. Because what she is essentially she controls clay or earth, I guess you would assume. But you see it kind of splashing off there from the water. And it's like, okay, that's kind of interesting. What ends up happening is while they're still in the altercation, Kamen Yuen drops in, who is Sylvia. She drops in and kind of wraps everything up relatively quickly. What happens after that is Sylvia reports back to Lansky, and Lansky is saying, all right, I'm glad that things are working out for you or whatnot. You have to disassociate yourself with the Common Core because we are not going to be dragging trash like that around with us. We're about making money. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they need to not have anything to do with us, especially that Carly chick, because if you read the volume 1, you would understand why he has a beef with Carly. What ends up happening is this insectoid pops up and he's collecting money for Vermilion Masquerade, right? So we cut to Kimmy, Carly, and Misha showing up to Vicky's house. They show up. Carly has the key. Vicky gives them kind of the rundown of what's going on there. Carly's just like, oh, you mean this, that, and the other? And he's like, oh, you already know about it? And he's like, yeah, because, our scientist over at Area 51, Dr. Gracie, he's the one who's been telling us about all of this stuff. So, she kind of feels bad in the sense of it's almost like she's getting cut out of the group. But what Carly tries to do is set up an appointment to where, all of them can kind of convene. I like that you got the capybara in the bottom there. You cut to Thursday where Misha shows up to work essentially with Siggy. But something pops off. Siggy goes into full Leon Kennedy mode and just starts, airing these monsters out. Misha tries to help out, but when she heats up, the sprinklers come on and just kind of neutralize her powers. And I thought that was pretty cool. One of the things I do like is the whole neutralization of her powers there, and it showed this book also shows more of the limitations of their abilities and if they have a way to overcome them and stuff like that. But we'll get into that in a minute. We cut to Kimmy meeting up with her father, and they're just kind of going over some business stuff about the Common Core taking a trip to Japan for kind of a campaign of sorts. So while they're discussing stuff, her father notices that they didn't order any food just yet, but they gave him a lot. So when he actually makes a mention of that, the mud jumps up at him. The food jumps up at him, revealing that it's actually mud. And Kimmy goes into action, and she starts handling stuff, just pulling water from different spots and stuff. So Carly's mid-interview, she's kind of getting grilled by the show host, and Lansky's over there is just like, oh, look at her squirm, this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. What ends up happening is the show host keeps goading Carly into answering questions how, in a way that would paint her in a bad light, What ends up happening is the show host drops the illusion and reveals Vermilion Masquerade. Carly jumps into action, and now she has to, deal with these threats by herself, because you saw in the previous pages, Misha and Siggy were handling some threats over at the gun shop. Kimmy was handling some threats over at the restaurant. What ends up happening is Kamen Yuen pops in. She pops up and starts helping out. And while the two of them are kind of like, while they're like back to back fighting these threats and kind of arguing and stuff like that, what Vermilion Masquerade does is she gets that wire there, zaps Kamen Yuen, and then slices off the ahoge. I was about to say the hoagie. So, they're beefing, and like they both shout at the same time, "You're not better than me." And at that moment, they realize, oh, holy shit, we were just beefing with each other for no reason. Like, we thought that we were better than each other, but, this doesn't help the cause at all. Like, this doesn't help each other at all. But, they kind of like simmered down there and realized that they were both in the wrong for years, for literal years. But Vermilion ain't having that. She ends up taking the suit back, which it ends up taking the Kamen Yuen suit, which was just a mud mechanism. The suit itself was what gave Sylvia the ability to fight as Kamen Yuen. So she ended up stripping her of that ability, so that just kind of left her, barren, essentially. Cut to later on that day, Carly shows back up and he's just like, "Hey, I'm back. I brought somebody with me," essentially. Reveals Sylvia. Everybody's just like, okay. And you see Kimmy light up here. And Carly suggested, she goes to Area 51 since she was exposed to, the radiation that came off of the mud itself. Then they show up at Area 51 where everybody gets their checkup. No one's actually giving off any kind of like, interesting signals except for Sylvia, who was kind of like covered in the mud or the clay the whole time, the irradiated clay. So she's kind of got like some readings coming off of her. It's called chimeration radiation, to be specific. Dr. Gracie says that he's working on something. You can see it right there in the corner. He's basically cooking something up for the girls. For those of you that read the first volume, you'll see the objects that fell from space. In the first volume, he says that there were 4 that landed. So of the 4 that landed, 3 of them hit the three heroines here. Carly, Misha, and Kimmy. What ends up happening is the alarm goes off, and you see this giant insectoid, Titan crab beetle, show up with Vermilion Masquerade on her, or on its back. So the girls head out. Misha actually, she ends up teaming up with Kimiko for a common combo freezer burn, where the enemies are cooked, then are flash frozen, and then they just shatter, which I thought was pretty cool. I like it. Carly's getting slapped up by the Titan beetle. Now that the small fry have been wrapped up, they all show up. They team up and they're just like, we about to beat the brakes off you until their powers, they start to depower, because you realize that they have a time limit. Now it is outlined actually earlier in the book as they're heading into Vicky's house that they do have a time limit. So what ends up happening is they take off. They head back into Hangar E7. Sylvia and Dr. Gracie are watching everything from the inside. And Dr. Gracie says, "Well, the girls aren't here right now, so what I need for you to do is to, use this new tech that we've been developing." She's like, "I don't think I can handle it, because, the whole defeat of her not actually being as super as she thought she was, it weared on her." And she's just like, I don't think there's much I can offer." And Dr. Gracie delivers a line here. He says, "It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to the man in the arena, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. And if he fails, does so while daring greatly." And I like it. It's pretty good. But what ends up happening is this face. What ends up happening is they just make it into the hangar, shut the door, and they're just like, how are we gonna get out of this mess? And Sylvia's like, "Well, we can't. Well, I can help you get out of this mess, no problem. But I need your mask, right?" She gets out the car and is like, "I need your mask." And it's like, "All right, well, I'll help you out. Whatever plan you got, just let's hope it works out." So what ends up happening is they open the hangar back up, and fucking blasting starts happening. People getting thrown, or what do you think? Insectoids getting thrown all over the place, blown in half, turned back into mud and stuff like that. And Sylvia pops out as Kamen Mecha, Karika, Mecha, Kamen, fuck y'all know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, she shows up and she starts laying a smackdown on Vermilion. So what ends up happening is like, the crowd is cheering. It's like, Kamen America, good job, Kamen America, so on and so forth. For the longest, she's kind of just been getting like, Kamen America, Carly has been holding the L because Kamen UN, being Sylvia, she shows up and handles everything. And they're just like, Sylvia, and like, or Kamen UN and whatnot. Carly doesn't get any praise for it, but now everybody's like, yeah, good job, Kamen America, so on and so forth. So it's like, okay, I get it. But, she steps back in. I like this page too, where Misha's like, it sucks that, they're praising you, but you're not out there kind of thing. And Carly kind of like, she makes peace with herself, is like, it's not about, having all the glory. It's about helping people out when the help is necessary. So Sylvia shows back up and she's just like, here you go. Here's your mask. And this is the part that I need for everybody on the planet who has anything to do with any level of comic books that quote unquote pass the mantle, if it's not legacy, so that excludes Black Panther and other characters like him. I will also say it excludes Batman because of, lore reasons with Batman. But this line here, where she says, you said that we shouldn't be taking each other down based on our past. I agree. We should be building our future. Kamen America isn't a costume that anyone can put on and claim as a mantle. It isn't a legacy. It's you. You are who everyone is cheering for right now. Every good deed you've done has brought you to this point. Kamen America is Carly Vanders, and only you will ever be Kamen America. God damn it. That's what I need everybody to realize. Look, Captain America. I'm doing it. I'll get to it. Sylvia ends up getting slapped, and Vermilion shows back up and is just like, I'm not done kind of deal. So they're trying to figure out how they're gonna get out of this situation. What ends up happening is like, because they're depowered, Kimmy comes up with the plan of maybe we can find some way to like supercharge ourselves, kind of like give ourselves a like recharge kind of deal. And in the old hangar, it's hard to find anything. What ends up happening is Carly spots a bunch of beer, and Kimmy just throws them back. She just throws them back. Look at her. She's about to get crazy. Well, I wish she did take up a drunken style. That's probably my only gripe. Just to retcon my spoiler-free review, the 9.8 is because that 0.2 is because she didn't go into a drunken style fighting stance. Like, I would have died laughing. Oh my God, that would have been great. Anyway, Vermilia's like slamming through the hangar door, and she gets through but gets blasted by Kimmy, who's now, all kinds of hungover. Well, hungover, all kinds of drunk. What ends up happening is, after she gets blasted in the face with a bunch of water, it hits everybody. It hit me. It dropped and I was like, bro. It's Vicky. Bro, that shit threw me for a fucking loop. I shit you not. This is precisely what I mean when I say you have to go back and read the other books, because there's a lot of things that you would miss. I'm like, bruh, this has got to be one of the biggest. I love this shit. So now I'm just sitting here like, yo, where's the story going to go from here? Right? And the book wraps up there. Now, I will say, as I was going to say about that one panel, the one thing I'm actually going to do, because, if you know my reviews, I always got something to say after I review the book. Anyway, what I have to say is, when it comes to like a statement like that, where it's like the mantle, it's not a mantle. It's not, a legacy that's just passed on. It's you. You are this character. That's essentially what a lot of people are saying. Like, Captain America is Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is Captain America. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Clark Kent is Superman. It's none of this, multiverse stuff, which just bogs down the actual storyline. And all it does is just incentivize laziness. It's like, okay, well, let's just take something that's already done and spin it into something we want it to be. So, like, here is a half and half Spider-Man. Like, nobody is clamoring for a half and half Spider-Man. People are clamoring at the thought of a half and half Spider-Man, but nobody actually wants a half and half Spider-Man. Otherwise, his books would be out selling Pete's, which they aren't. They aren't. Trust me, they aren't. Or hell, you don't even have to trust me. Go look up the numbers. But that's the thing that a lot of people, I guess these weirdos, call them what they are, the SJ weirdos, social justice weirdos, they clamor for stuff that doesn't help the industry at all. It doesn't help anyone at all, really. It's like, oh, like for example, when they passed the shield to Sam Wilson, like what ended up happening is he gave the shield back. Same thing with Amadeus Cho when he got the gamma radiation. He gave that back to Bruce. Like, they're doing the same thing with Thor as well, I guess. With like Mjolnir, is like, okay, well, Thor went through this whole. First off, how the fuck do you take a man's birth name and say somebody else is now who you are? That makes no sense. Because the original text on Mjolnir said, if I remember correctly, whosoever wields this hammer, may he be worthy, shall have the power of Thor, not be Thor, because Thor is not a title. Thor is not a mantle. Thor is Thor. Captain America is Steve Rogers. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Bruce Wayne is Batman. And the list goes on and on and on. But I will only say that there are exceptions in the sense of like Batman, because, you know, there's a legacy behind it. Where he's trying to build up someone who can become the next Batman, but you know they kind of keep defecting to their own thing, which I'm okay with. The same thing with T'Challa, with Black Panther, because the Black Panther is a mantle. That makes sense. It's in the lore that he picked it up from his father, T'Chaka. And there are plenty of characters who are, you know, getting having the mantle passed to them. If that's something that the original like creator made for the character, then fine. Sure. Let it be that way. But don't go taking something that already exists and flipping it into something that you want it to be for the sake of, you know, your diversity or whatever, your representation. Kate Bishop is not Hawkeye. That's Clint Barton. Like, who else we got? Sam Alexander is not Nova. All these characters, Miss Marvel, or Kamala Khan, like all these. Just stop it. Just let the characters be who they are. If there is the only time, like if a character dies, let them stay dead. Hell, I would have preferred they left Walter Lawson. I would have preferred they left him dead, because they had a whole graphic novel. I think it was the first graphic novel from the first Marvel graphic novel, The Death of Captain Marvel. Like, he died and he stayed dead all the way up to the point to where they decided to bring him back as a woman, all the way up to the point where they decided to bring him back as like some kind of non-entity in a book that he doesn't even matter in. Like, fucking why? Same thing goes with like, you know, it's just destroying legacies. Like, all you're doing is just, you're basically taking what is, you know, what is cemented in history as something great and turning it and basically just dismantling it. It's essentially, you know, you're taking Clark Kent apart because you want the Superman title. You're taking Luke Skywalker apart because you want to be the hero of the galaxy. Like, just let the characters be what they are. Feel free to make whatever you want, but don't destroy the lore. Pay respect to what came first in the process. You don't have to destroy what is in order to make what you want. Trust me, it's doable. Case in point, look at Kamen America. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you guys enjoyed this review, let me know in the comment section below. Hit like, subscribe, share the video, the whole Susan Witwicky checklist, and stay tuned for some more reviews. Till next time, stay safe. It's real in these streets, and take it easy. That being said, I'm gonna go. My thumb just popped. Ow, fuck. Hello. Holy shit. During graduation, where Sylvia's out. Sylvia. These names. I'm telling you, these names. You know, they just make. Oh, my voice. Hello, hi. I guess I'm gonna have to do this low energy. Hello, hi. What is going on today? Whoa. Some revenue through my business and whatnot. You feel me? And why'd I say you feel me? Anyway.